Happy Monday, everybody! Welcome to another session of our IG Live conversation. Today I will be joined by Andrea, Matt, and Laura, and we will be talking all about some art room hacks as well as what teaching looks like for you right now, because I know, as always, we're really trying to step up to support each other through this world of education and specifically art education. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Sarah Krajewski, and I am an elementary art educator and your host for IG Live. So thank you all for joining. I'm going to get the three of them into our room here pretty quickly, but just to remind you, this is kind of like an open conversation, and I know a lot of you that are watching today aren't in the chat with us, like face to face, but please feel free to drop in any questions, comments, emojis as we talk today, so we feel like we're kind of interacting with you as well. So go ahead and drop those in today. I will get those three in here, and then Matt is on his way. Let me get my other friends. Hi, Matt.
How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Trying to stay warm here in Ohio.
Oh my gosh, I know. We're in Wisconsin and it is a rough go. We've had so much indoor recess. It's such a mess. Let me get, here we go, Andrea and Laura. And they'll be in here soon too. Well, why don't you start us off for a second, Matt? Oh, yay! Oh my gosh, that was like perfect. Simultaneous. Oh my gosh. Hello, everybody. Okay, we've got Laura. We've got Andrea. We've got Matt. We've got the art teachers extraordinaire. Welcome, welcome. And I'm super psyched to have you guys on today because in particular, you are each going to be featured as part of a new YouTube series that we're doing on the Art of Ed, all about art teacher hacks, which is something a lot of us really need, and it's really fun to see what works for other art educators. So we're going to jump right into it. So let's start. Matt, can you just give us a little bit of a background, where you teach, how long, and then what teaching looks like for you right now?
Yeah, high school art teacher in Pickerington, Central Ohio. That's in the southeastern part of Columbus. Don't want to say it, but this is year 27 for me. It's about a 2,000 student high school. I teach mainly 3D sculpture, ceramics, metals, also computer graphics and AP.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. I mean, you look 27, so that's shocking, and I'm not, like, I mean it.
The kids always ask me when I take the mask off for a second, is like, why is your beard a different color than my hair? And I'm like, because I'm Scottish.
I love it. I love it. We respect it. All right, next let's have Laura. Can you introduce yourself, Laura?
Yeah, so I'm Laura Gardner, and I teach elementary art, so K through 5 in Indiana. So very cold here right now. And this is my 8th year teaching, and we have a district with a bunch of great elementary art teachers that we all work really great together, and that's nice to have that team. I know not everybody has that, but it's good.
Yeah, I'm glad that works for you too. I know sometimes it's either you're like by yourself and you're the only one for your whole district, or you're like amongst this big, huge team of people, or kind of a happy medium in between. So I'm glad you have people to lean on for that too. And Andrea, can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Andrea Wlodarczyk. I am a middle school teacher, grades 6 through 8 in San Diego, California, sending you sunshine and warmth. Yeah, I'm at a project-based learning school, so it's a collaborative team effort, and it's really awesome because there's also an art department with a makerspace as well as performing arts. So I'm visual arts to round out the 3 arts, and yeah, we're doing all the things this year.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So let's do like maybe just a little recap, because it's nice to find out other art teachers that we can relate to as far as like levels, what the past few years have looked like for you. Real quick, again, we're like, give me a show of hands maybe, or like, has anybody been on a cart recently? Like in the last couple of years? Ooh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Not really.
Just me then. And then I assume at some point y'all did virtual learning, like near the beginning of the pandemic, right? So we all kind of have that in common too. And I know like there's so many things that have changed from state to state that it is really difficult to keep track of everything. But before we kind of dive into the art hacks that we're going to share with people and kind of give them a little sneak peek about what's going to be happening on the YouTube series, I would love to hear about some of the successes and challenges from the last couple years with you. So things like that have been working in your classroom and things that you would ideally change if possible. So let's start. Does anyone want to start?
Well, I can go
Oh, man.
if you want. A few years ago, it was actually really hard. Just the amount of stuff we were teaching. So we started flipping our classroom back then when it was becoming popular before COVID, about flipping classrooms. We actually got really good at building a website and all that. Little did we know, COVID was going to happen. So one of the successes transferred from computer graphics to like 3D stuff was the idea of doing these little step-by-step kind of videos when you send stuff home. Like it just totally transferred computer graphics from one to the other. So that kind of practice, I guess we had before the pandemic was great. I don't know if I'm allowed to say things out here, but video has been great for making these videos, and the document cameras to audio when you're doing stuff. So like short little videos I started practicing with became like really helpful transferring from 2D to 3D stuff at home.
Okay, yeah, I love the connection with something you already were doing, like doing your videos that were perhaps in something you were just going to plan to use in your classroom anyways, but then incorporating that into something that works with what happened with COVID. Real quick, sorry, I was getting distracted. I know, Matt, we're getting a little bit of feedback from you. I think we can still kind of piece it together, but I don't know if the muting really is like a huge deal because we're all in quiet rooms. So question mark technology, just so you know. But anyways, bear with us, y'all. I appreciate your, maybe tell us a poem, tell us a joke.
I don't know, I muted myself. That would be any better. Was it or no?
I don't know. Maybe it's for me. Maybe I'll mute myself when y'all answer, and we'll see if that fixes it a little bit. We'll be in this together. Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to share about what the past few years have looked like besides that flipping of your classroom?
No, I think that's the best thing for everyone to do is I found short, quick little how-to videos are very helpful for kids to follow step by step instead of like kind of long, drawn-out things for them to watch. I think we all know kids' attention spans are like this. So those short 3 to 5 minute videos we were making for computers like really transferred over into everything else that was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that too. Like having quick things to be able to throw on the screen or throw on for a demonstration is really, really helpful. Laura, can you share with us just some of the successes or the challenges, a little bit of both for us with you for the past few years?
So like piggybacking off of Matt, I started doing some videos, demonstration videos and stuff before COVID too, but then they have just become so helpful. And like you said, the attention, like if you think the attention span of, middle and high schoolers is bad, like kindergartners, I mean, elementary kids, fifth graders, like it's, and especially here, I feel like we've all seen this trend of like, we need to go back to the basics. Like there's some sort of like disconnect here where even behavioral are not like focused like they used to be. And listen as well, like you have to chunk things down smaller. So some of those videos that I already had, it was nice to be able to play them and then rewind a certain spot and like watch that over and over again and be like, guys, you need to pay attention to this part. Like I'm going to show it again and again and like really reiterate that. Helpful. And then when the pandemic was, more at the beginning when we were all like cleaning everything, not having enough time, it was nice to have the little things to put on the screen and, while you switch from one class to another and you prep material. So having some sort of buffer where you can, have the kids busy doing something, you're in the middle of organizing your classroom so that, you know, switching materials or so that the other kids aren't using that, like to have something like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Sorry, we're like trying to check our mic issues a little bit too. I don't know. Are you muted, Matt? Okay, he's good. So you will just be underwater, y'all, and you can just be mermaids with us, and it's just gonna be what it's gonna be, and we'll be fine. Because we're like, it's like when you try to read a kindergartner's name on the back of their paper, and you're like, I think I got it, right? You're like, I think I got it. So that's what interpreting our conversation is. It's like, I think I got it. Laura, I completely agree. I think I used to try to have activities and conversations and exit tickets at the end of my lessons to try to make those last few minutes like super impactful. But now it makes more sense, and give yourself that permission to play a video for kids, an art-related video, get them to a carpet space and set up the space for your next class. So giving yourself that permission to say this is okay to do, because it's going to make your job easier, since those transitions are probably tighter than they were maybe initially when we were kind of working through that pandemic. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. And even like a backwards thing is, during the height of the pandemic, we were given, as special area teachers in my school, we were given 5 minutes in between classes, which we didn't usually have.
Yeah.
Because they thought we needed to like stuff, which was great. And then we all got really used to having those 5 minutes in between. And then this year they took it away. So now we're like, that was really useful for some different reasons. Like, and you know, admin sees it as a lost instructional time, but we see the benefit of like, the kids are more calm and prepared. We're ready to go. Teaching is better. Instruction is better. But not seen like that all the time. So yeah, like having different activities and things for them to do that are still impactful, but can give you those little 5 minutes for yourself to like get ready or something like that.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I would love to hear from anybody that's joining us in the chat that still has time in between classes that maybe carried over from initial pandemic, because we also had that, and then of course it's gone this year. So you know, it's an interesting kind of like mindset to initially trying to figure everything out, but then kind of go back to what has worked in the past. So but I agree, it does tend to calm students a bit and get them kind of more ready to prepare, and then yourself also ready, because then you're not rushing around like crazy. So thank you for that advice too. Andrea, do you want to tell us just a little bit about what's been working or what's been challenging in your classroom?
Yeah, well, Matt and Laura said so much that I related to. So I guess like I had a really interesting distance learning experience, because I had a newborn in January 2020. And then when I was supposed to return from maternity leave, we immediately slid into distance learning in March 2020. So I stopped seeing my students like the December before, and then I never got to see them again for the rest of the year like I expected in person.
Yeah.
So there was like a little bit of novelty, because I got to catch back up with them online and see their faces and kind of like show them my baby who was at home with me, which held their attention, you know, for a little bit. But yeah, I was not accustomed to asynchronous learning or doing like Zooms. So all of that was really new to me, huge learning curve. But on the plus side, like what would happen, I had no idea what would happen in the future, but I ended up getting more comfortable in front of the camera and making asynchronous videos, and then, you know, getting to do the YouTube series. So that ended up working out in the long run. But honestly, a little plug for the Art of Ed. I was a little bit lost at first with distance learning, and I had gone to a NOW conference, and there was this really cool self-portrait project that was with about gathering items from your home and like surrounding yourself with them. And my students did that. It was like a digital photography lesson. And that honestly, the kids did so well with it. It was so amazing to see their creativity, to see their involve their families. And that became a launch pad for me for like the rest of my curriculum. Honestly, I started sort of going that direction with a lot of ideas. So, you know, there was like a Getty Museum challenge where people recreated artworks, like things like that ended up being great. I had K through 8. So Laura, I totally felt what you were saying about like the attention, and it was like, I have a cat, and like, you know, it was really hard. And then everybody's cats and pets were in, you know, the videos. So all of that was like really, really challenging. And to your point, Matt, I had learned somewhere in all of that 6 minutes is about the attention span kids have for videos. Educational videos, like when you're doing distance learning. So I also had to really shorten everything I was saying and just get right into the art making. And then some of the successes were having celebrations at the end of our classes, like showing our work, taking like screenshots, and just celebrating each other, because every day felt like an accomplishment.
Oh, totally. Yeah, honestly, I think that's a good mindset to have any day. Is just like, oh, I did it, I made it, and the kids were as happy as they could be, and I was trying the best that I could, and that is an accomplishment in itself, because like things can feel really hard, like, and I don't know about you, but like every day I'm just like all over the scale. So it's nice to kind of step back a little bit and celebrate those accomplishments when they do get really tough. Well, thank you for sharing all of those successes and highlights, because there are certainly a lot of them. But I do want to have a chance to just chat about what we have to look forward to with our YouTube series. Recently, we've been really posting a lot of fun series on the YouTube channel. And again, like the Art of Ed, I use all of the things that they have, like the Pro, the Flex, like all the stuff. I love using all of their things, but I also love that we kind of like cover things on multiple platforms. And part of it is the YouTube series are like really quick things that you can get kind of like insight speedy, but it doesn't have to be something you sit down and watch for like 3 hours, right? So each of you have part of a little video series for the art teacher hacks, which it sounds like a silly term, but like we know there's tricks and things we do in our classroom that it's like, I have to do this. And like when another art teacher hears it, they're like, what? Like mind blown, right? So without giving us too much detail, I would love just a little bit of some of your favorite hacks, just a little description to just get us like piquing our interest for what we have to look out for. Matt, do you want to just start? We'll go in our same order.
Sure. So I'm listening to the younger children and the kid thing like that. My daughter's 15 and a half, but she's in a lot of activities. So one of my hacks that I love, since I'm high school, I have about 180 students, and a lot of it's 3D stuff, is my grading tips on how to set up a station so that the kids can, and train them to take pictures of their own artwork and post them to classroom, and how to kind of set up those stations so they're kind of like plug and play stations. So one of the hacks is like using vinyl shades like that you find in your windows of different colors to pull down so the kids can use different backdrops like they would in photography, like take different views of their 3D work. That way I don't have to sit around. I don't know if other teachers do this, but I did it for like 20 years, like sitting around after school, like grading. I mean, you can't take sculptures and pots and bowls and stuff like that home. So now the kids are able to photograph their work, photograph it well. And obviously then I can sit and watch horses, which my daughter rides, and grade ceramics projects all at the same time. So that part is quite convenient, and kind of like different little hacks of using milk crates and other things of how the kids can set up stuff. So you can save a lot of time with the kids putting their work in, and when you're at the mall or watching a series or doing something, you can also have your classroom open or whatever you use, just grading those things. It has saved me so much time with that stuff. A lot of my stuff is also, just to kind of, since we're giving little sneaks, a lot of my stuff is 3D stuff. So how to dry clay without the hair dryer noise. If you break a project that came out of the kiln that's already been fired, how to put it back together without glue. I know. How
I'm like, I have to know. Like, I know we're going to hear it later, but I'm like, I have to know right now.
So anyway, those are just some of the fun ones, but a lot of it's 3D and displaying student or grading student work.
Awesome. Okay, that's a huge topic too to kind of chat about, just because I know many of us, either for different levels or just for the way that we assess our students, is so varied. But I think hearing you talk a little bit about how you set your students up for success to give them that opportunity to like have a beautiful image, or whatever it might be, is a really good baseline to start with. And so I'm excited to see just a little bit about that as well. Everybody, okay, we're all good with this. We've decided we're going to be underwater, people, so just allow the sound to be what it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I think we'll just keep on cruising. Laura, can you share with us what a little sneak peek of some of the hacks that you'll be sharing with us?
Yeah, so I feel like because I'm elementary, I have kind of like all over the place. So in middle or high school, you might have a specialty like 3D, but elementary is just, you kind of try to do a little bit of everything. Yeah. And I mean, some of the hacks, honestly, like you were saying, like we might do all the time, but we don't realize now that it's a hack anymore because we're so used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess backstory, like trying to come up with these hacks, I take a step back and look at how I do things and be like, oh yeah, like that is something that might be helpful to others. But one that was completely mind-blowing, I learned it from another teacher, was storing my paint in a different way.
Okay.
So people, well, a lot of people do like the pump on the big gallons that you buy, and I always had trouble with them. They clog and they dry out, and then you try to push down and they're like not going, and then you push harder and then it like sprays out everywhere and goes all over yourself or the ceiling, like we there. So a lot of people use those condiment bottles with like the skinny top, but I feel like they still have hacks for those on how not to clog those or those dry out. So instead, I have a different kind of condiment bottle that I use all of my stuff in, or all my paint, and you can even use it for other liquid things too. But it's like whenever I get it, I show the kids for the first time, they're like, it's like Subway, it's like the mayonnaise. I'm like, yeah. So it's those. But you'll have to see when you see my part about it, like the kids do it themselves, and it's just been mind-blowing for me to like give them that independence, and so easy. Like I don't do anything. It's easy to refill, easy to use all different kinds of paint in there and glue and stuff. But that's my different one. Then I don't know, they're all just kind of all over the place with me. My grading one might be one that I kind of thought like a lot of people probably do this already, but maybe not. Like when you have a seating chart on a piece of paper and then you walk around the room and you can grade right on there, or write anything that you have that you need to write down on there. And especially now with COVID going on and everything, it's been a lot more helpful. I've given more spaces and like formatted it so I can write down more comments about, this class only had 8 kids in it today because the rest were quarantined. It's like, oh, that's why we didn't get anything done, because I wrote it down right there. Or like it was absent for 3 weeks in a row. Nobody else was. That's why they're great. But it's easy to be able to put it down in the moment on the seating chart. Go back to the seating chart later. You're entering grades. That's really like. It's another one for my clay. I know I'm not as skilled with clay as Matt probably is with his high schoolers, but I do have a hack that I love where you can slip and pour the clay without using actual slip, which is really great for kids because it makes it super quick and easy, and they memorize the wording that and they remember it from year to year. Things still stay together.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I am super psyched to see more about those as well. And I love to, even when you were just discussing at the beginning, the point of like a hack or a trick or some technique to make it easier for the educator is just that, to simplify, to hopefully give your kids independence, or to make it so that you're kind of like, whoo, that takes some job off of my shoulders, or makes it so I'm not like stressed out cleaning glue bottles or whatever it might be. So I love the way you're phrasing that too. It's giving students independence, but also alleviating some stress from yourself too. All right, Andrea, give us what you got. Give us a little sneak peek.
I do have a sneak peek. I've got a couple items with me. So the two hacks that I'm going to talk about now are technique-based hacks. And well, one's technique hack and one is art room supply storage. So I was trying to think of how I can get like 28 people at a time to do kind of complicated and messy things like handmade paper, which I love to do in the classroom, but it gets wet. It's wet and messy real fast.
Yep.
And lots of water, lots of paper pulp, lots of people moving all at the same time. So I was trying to think of a way to introduce this to students all at once, but not have them all waiting and like watching one demonstration or one table group and then passing supplies along. And so I don't want to say too much, but I have these little cans with screen over them, and students each have a station at their own table. They don't even need to be by a sink. And there's also something with condiment bottles in there. And then the rest you'll just have to see on the series. But basically, they all get to make a small like ornament, I guess I call it, or like a little token, a little piece of paper that same day. So they have that kind of immediate satisfaction, and they get the basic concept of the process. It's not the same as like using a mold and decal and dipping it into water yet, but it kind of gets their feet wet. So introduces them to that. So I really love that one. And then because I'm in middle school, and yes, I have seen sort of, let's just say we're practicing a lot with our behaviors and remembering to return items, and yes. So
we hear you. We hear you.
Yeah, there's a lot of rehearsing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just a lot of like reminders. I don't think any of my students are really intentionally putting others in danger. Like, I'm not seeing anything like that. It's just, I think that they are forgetting how quickly things happen in the art room. People slip, you know, you're holding something and someone turns into you and then that has fallen over. Like, they just kind of forget, and it's not that big of a space. And then I'm also, I'm in my 17th year of teaching, but I'm in a new school this year. So I am starting a art room from pretty much scratch. And so I really wanted to be intentional with especially my tools and the sharp things. So I'm just going to give away this little freebie. But one way I'm storing sharps is in some corks, because I've got these kind of like needle tools. And I really, really worry about these things. I don't want students walking around with them. I don't want them like leaving them on the table for me to try to, you know, run around and collect them all at the end of class. So this, one of my hacks is really just about these methods that you can use that are quick and simple at a glance. I can see like in 2 seconds if I have everything collected that I need. And then I can dismiss everybody and not hold them hostage until we find all the scissors or whatever.
That's super smart. I feel like material management is essentially like, you know, an entire huge portion of our job, right? Is it's like, if you don't have the materials organized in some sort of way, whether the kids are getting them independently or you're doing a lot of the prep, like it's not, you can't do it, right? So you really need to manage how you're organizing things, how kids get stuff, and kind of the flow of what that looks like too. I also just love that you're like alluding to the condiment bottles, because I literally stopped at the grocery store before this and I was like, I have to go down the sink cleaning aisle, like must see if there are cool sponges. Like what is the mindset there? I don't understand, but I fully
weird.
respect that.
You get to be weird.
Oh yeah, you're like, I will find something that I will use in my art room in this way, so I need to be prepared for it. I love it. Okay, so those are just a few sneak peeks. And of course, just to remind y'all, this is going to be for our upcoming YouTube series, which will be coming out shortly. But you will see some of the previews here on the Art of Ed Instagram, just to kind of like get you guys to head over to the YouTube page where you'll be able to see the full video. And these three will be talking more about those hacks that they kind of alluded to today, but also a few more as well, which we're super psyched about. So we're going to kind of like get to how I usually end Instagram live chats, but I just want to like collectively sort of assemble ourselves with a little bit of positivity, a little bit of like classroom philosophy, how you talk to your students. I'm going to ask you each just 2 more questions. So we'll do one first and then our last one. And then everybody that's in the chat today, you'll want to stay for the end because I'm going to ask a question to win one of these amazing rainbow holographic stickers that are exclusive for IG Live. And if you answer the question right in our chat, then I will mail that to you. So first question of our last 2, Matt, is essentially what words of encouragement do you have for educators, humans, people in general right now? Like, what is helping you to persevere?
So I'm also president of the Ohio Art Education Association, and we've tried to build like a community. So if it's not with people in my own department, because I am at such a huge school and we are all kind of overworked, I try to take time at lunch and at least 3 or 4 times a week to make sure I reach out and speak with other art teachers, not only hear what they are doing, and obviously a lot of times we're all going through the same things, right, with the issues with what word did you use, their manners or the way they're acting. But just to kind of share and get feedback and just kind of, let it out. As as teachers, only know what's going on in our rooms, and we can only relate to each other about having sharp objects laying on the table or seeing a bazillion elementary students, which I can never imagine. For those that can't see on Instagram, I'm like 6'10", and when I did my elementary stuff, the little kids loved me, but like tiny chairs and tables, I was just lost. So God bless all the elementary teachers out there. So back to the words of encouragement. Make sure you reach out to others in the profession and spend time each day, or at least 3 or 4 times a week, talking to those around you, because they really need it to help you as well, just to kind of get some stuff off your chest. Plus, you just learn a lot and reconnect those friendships. I think we get a little too used to the FaceTime, Zoom, and the other stuff like that. And it's just nice to take a break and actually kind of speak with someone.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. I think, building that community, and when I was chatting with Candido Crespo, who is our new host for Everyday Art Room, he was chatting a lot about how the community of art educators in particular, but even the one you build within your school and within, social media and things like that too, is like sometimes that driving heartbeat of like making sure you're not alone, that people are struggling, people are succeeding, people are like feeling things. So reaching out to that community is incredibly important. And I love that you mentioned to your state association, because there's a lot there too. So if you're not already involved with your state art education association, you'll definitely want to check them out as well. So thank you, Matt. Laura, what do you have for us as far as just like, how do we persevere here?
Well, I think a huge way to be flexible, especially like, with what we're all going through the pandemic, but just in general too, just flexibility and just to give yourself grace, let things go. Like sometimes we just have to remind ourselves, like, it's just art class. Like this is not life and death. Like, yes, what we do is important for our kids to have, our curriculum is important and the grading is important. But honestly, like if something doesn't get done, like we're all gonna live. Like
it's okay.
All you 5 kids in your class, they all survived, and like you sent them all back out with their teacher. Like it was okay. So just give yourself grace and remember, you don't have to necessarily stress over every single detail. Like even like the kids are under so much pressure and stress these days with the testing and everything that they have to go through. They don't need to come to our room and feel that stress also. Like, I hardly even tell my kids that I give them grades. And then when it slips out that, oh, I'm grading this, they're like, what? I give you a grade, I'm sorry, but it's going to be okay. Like, especially with this pandemic and stuff, like with kids in and out of rooms all the time, with quarantines and things, like there have been plenty of times over the past couple of years where I just need grades for kids, and it's okay. Like, you know, everybody will survive, and it's okay. I don't have to catch them up on everything. Like, I just want, you know, you just do the best you can, make it a good experience for them. So give yourself grace, teachers.
Yes, completely. I think that's also incredibly good advice too, is just to have that perspective a little bit, like what are we actually doing, right? And what's the importance in it? And I think we can all agree that the importance of connecting with kids and hopefully cultivating some sort of love of creating something in their brain, physically, with art, maybe, I don't know, but that connection is what it's all about, instead of like did you glue this thing on right? You know what I mean? Like, have that perspective a little bit. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. Andrea, what do you have for us that will help us persevere? Now I kind of feel bad you're always at the end. I'm gonna make you go first next time so they won't skip your stuff.
No, it's all good. No, I'm really aligned with what Matt and Laura are saying. I think that in my school community and my like personal friend group of teachers that are across the United States, like the conversations that we have, we're all just, I think, trying to carry the weight of the world sometimes. And even in art, when we're not the ones like necessarily dealing with standardized testing or whatever, but like we're sort of taking it on with our teammates at our schools and sharing their stress. And so, and also in middle school, there's a lot of big feelings. I know there probably is across the whole K through 12 network, but there's a lot of really big feelings right now in middle school. And I think that we've always known that we wear that therapist hat sometimes, but all of these things combined, the pandemic, some people's feelings about learning loss, whether or not that exists, all of these things, though, I think I'm just trying to remind myself and everybody else to just please be gentle with yourself, and you're trying. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's all that it needs to be. It's like, we just need to kind of remember that, like, we don't need to take it all on all the time, and it will be okay. There will be another day, as Laura said. And then my other favorite one, I wrote it down, was you can be optimistic and realistic. And that one's helpful. Yes,
absolutely. It's you look around you and you say, okay, where is my positivity going to lie in this situation? And it's a balance for sure. But thank you for giving us that perspective too. I think that's a big part of it as well, is remembering that things ebb and flow, and that just because you're stuck in one space or one feeling, one heavy moment, doesn't mean that's where you'll live the entire time, but just kind of like letting it wash over you and just letting it be what it is, and just keep going. So I appreciate that too. Now, my last question for today, before I go ahead and do our giveaway for the sticker, is a similar question, but I love kind of how every teacher phrases things differently, because it's kind of like, what's your teaching philosophy in a certain sense of the question. But I just would love to hear what teachers would say to students. Like, say you had a group of kiddos in front of you and you want them to take one thing away from how you teach and how you interact with them. What do you want them to know from you? Do you want to go first, Andrea?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us what you want your students to know.
Yeah, this is easy. I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks straight. It's communicate. Communicate with an adult about how you're feeling, about what you're going through. I think that it's really hard for us to be in kids' shoes right now. I mean, I know like we're with them all the time, and like we see them and we really see them, but also we're not them, and their dramas aren't our dramas, and it's hard to remember how dramatic and serious being 12 can be sometimes. And so what I've been asking of my students is, when things are going on and when it feels anxious and heavy and dramatic, is just to communicate. There's like a lot of like dashing out of the room and like, these things. And so it's just really hard to like regroup sometimes. So if that communication is there, then we can kind of like sort everybody out, get everybody support that they need, and reset and give students tools. But we really can't do that unless they loop us in. So I'm just asking, please communicate, students.
And I honestly, I love that too, Andrea, because again, this kind of goes to our like purpose as educators, is like trying to build these beautiful little humans. And like it was, it's just saying how you talk to each other through art, through your class, sure, but like just in general how you communicate with each other. These are life skills that we're learning in the presence of an art education classroom. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Andrea. Laura, what kinds of things do you tend to tell your students, or what do you want them to know?
I sometimes feel like a broken record with my students of just telling them like, okay, like you made a mistake, but it's okay. Like nobody's perfect. Because I don't know if it's, the pressure that's put on them elsewhere and they bring it to art, but don't draw something exactly right, then sometimes they'll just like break down and shut down. So I just want them to have good experience. Like you were saying earlier, like whatever we can give them, like, some sort of little, I don't know, you phrased it so well earlier, Sarah, but like, like experiencing art and taking that with them however they can, like in a positive way, even if they don't love art, I don't care, it's fine, but I want you to have a good experience in my room and just, have fun. And it's not, so it shouldn't be stressful. And I hate like young little kids get so stressed out about, trying to draw a butterfly that's not perfect on the side. Like I've had a Gardner cry at that before.
Oh yeah.
Like it's okay. Like
yeah,
it will be okay. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to crumple up our paper and throw it away. Like it's art. It's supposed to be fun. Have a good experience with it. Learn, experience different materials, processes, and that's what I want them to take away with them.
Yeah. I love that. I also yes. I'm like, I don't even want to piggyback on these because I just want those moments to shine. I know, yes, we are all feeling that for sure. Matt, can you share with us what you want your students to know when they leave your classroom?
Yeah, also mine's kind of easy too. I start a new semester. Most of my classes are semester classes, and I always tell the students the same thing. You may not all be professional artists, but you can all be creative and make your own personal choices. And then I spend a lot of time in class kind of saying the same thing. There's no need to stress out if you can't do something perfectly, because this is sometimes the first time you're throwing on the wheel or soldering a piece of jewelry or whatever. Scoring and slipping sometimes is a case. I mean, some kids may not have had a lot of art before they hit high school, but you can all make personal decisions and choices that you stand behind. And as long as your rationale is strong for the rest of your life, I just ask that you be creative and stand behind your personal choice. So it's kind of that therapy that you were talking about and the not stressing out that you were talking about. If I take their mind off of not being a professional artist in an art class and just about being creative and making personal choice, it tends to ease their mind a little bit. So that's kind of my saying every year.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that too. And I think, I just have so much respect for educators and art educators, but just hearing you speak again too, it kind of like makes me a little emotional, because each of you are sharing just essentially how you talk to kids and how you want humans to talk to humans. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to say, like, this is what my teaching philosophy is to try to encourage my kids to advocate for themselves and communicate, to tell them it's okay to make mistakes, to be problem solvers when that happens, and to just try to live creatively and find something you're passionate about. Like, how is that not just the most beautiful thing? So I love that. And thank you for summing that all up for us, with the three of you sharing your little insight into how you speak to your students and into your classroom. So thank you very much. Now, as we get to the close here, real quick, can we just go around and share where everybody can find a little bit more information about each of you, like your handle, or if there's a website or anything else that they should know? Matt, do you want to start for us?
Sure. I'm, as the older person in the room, I'm still learning the social media stuff, but I'm at myoung1art. That's my Instagram. But a lot of the teachers find helpful, and this one's easy to remember. I teach at Pickerington Central, so it's Central Art Blog. And apparently if you Google Central Art Blog, our website comes up, and that's where we have the teacher resources and like our online gallery and all of that stuff. So at Young One Art, if you occasionally want to see something that I remember to post about my students every once in a while, which I try to do. That's my goal for this year, is to get better at that. But the blog is always updated with the videos and the projects and the kids' stuff like that. So I don't know why. I don't know. I try. I really do.
You are trying, Matt, and give yourself grace. Listen to Laura.
I do. My 15-year-old daughter's like, Dad, give me that. Look, you can do this. I'm like, you just did it. And I teach like Photoshop, Illustrator, like all kinds of the Adobe products. But if you put it in this tiny little thing here, it's like it just goes over my head.
Maybe you need to hire her as your social media manager.
That's
and
exactly.
She can like earn her a lot. You know, I mean, I feel like there's a little moment there.
No, that's exactly what she said she was going to do. So you've already implanted it, and I'm not going to tell her that again.
Okay, make sure she's not watching this then. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Laura, where can people follow along for more about you?
On Instagram, Facebook, I'm at Mrs. Gardner's Artist. So that's artist, with an extra S on the end. And then I do have a YouTube also. I think it's just Laura Gardner. And I put a lot of like demonstration videos on there and stuff. But when I share like work and all that kind of stuff, it's usually Instagram links to my Facebook. So at Mrs. Gardner's Artist.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. And Andrea, where can everyone follow you?
My IG handle is Lovely Green Studio, and my website is lovelygreenstudio.com.
Easy peasy. I love it. I love it. Well, before you all go, I'm going to ask a very complicated question. I mean, it's not that complicated, but you know, we'll see who gets the answer right. So if you know the answer and you're watching right now, type it into the chat. And if you're the first person to respond, I will mail you this really cool sticker that is exclusive to IG Live. The question is, where will the Art Teacher Hacks series be debuted? On what platform? Where will the Art Teacher Hacks series be debuted? Somebody, yay! Mitch 306, Mick 30. Oh, see, I got the people. Okay, y'all are too fast. MICH 306. You're my first one. I feel like I'm calling bingo, but you know. All right, sweet. And for anyone else that maybe missed part of our conversation today, we are going to be saving this chat to IGTV, so you're welcome to watch it or share it after this as well. And we will be having more of these chats in the future, so stay tuned for some of our upcoming conversations, and we'll go from there. Y'all, thank you so much for sharing your insight, for giving us a little sneak peek into what works in your classroom, and for just being amazing educators. We are so grateful for you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, the three of you have a great night, and I will share this in our story afterwards so people can follow along on your art adventures.
All right. Thanks. Sorry for the bubbles.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're good. Okay, bye, y'all.
Bye.